That's one thing that I don't think is very fair when it comes to the judicial system, especially when you're dealing with kids, because the judges always say they're looking out for the kids' best interests. But at the end of the day, is that really true? I don't really see it being really true.
Welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast, and where I'm Dr. B, and we're just excited because in 2024, and this is your recording, I'm not sure when you're watching this, but in year 2024, we are interviewing 100 Black men who've been successful in their worlds and in the things that they do. And when we think about success and, meaning, in my mind, sometimes we believe that success is the amount of money you have or the material goods that you have or, the status in the community you have. When I think about success and think about what drives success, it's about purpose and people being able to live within their purpose. And, if you are in your purpose and you're doing what God put you on this earth to do, then you get to be successful at it. And so, and that comes through serving others. And, a lot of folks said, well, Brian, what does it take to be successful? And I'll say, are you willing to serve others? Because those who serve others are the most successful people that people want to be around, that you could say at the end of your life when you think about legacy, that's happened. And so today is no different. And today's guest is Jason Delancey. And Jason Delancey has plenty of things that he's doing to serve the community and things that he believes in on a daily basis that he's able to get done. Comes from, a creative background, being, doing some acting and doing some stand-up comedy and just relating to people in areas that some of us never get to. He's also in a space where there's nonprofit. And so, me coming from nonprofit and running homeless services organizations and, knowing what that grind is like, you are in total service to others. And, sometimes it's nice to just be able to have people listen and talk and be able to formulate, is this something that you who is listening right now wants to do? Or is it something like, oh man, I didn't believe he went through that too. So did I. And so now you have a relatable instance that says, hey, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. And so, Jason, just appreciate you being on today. Appreciate you taking the time out of your day in order to be on the show and to kind of talk about the issues that face us as Black men. When I say we're interviewing 100 Black men, we've had some, themes that have come on. One of the themes is, I would like to see other people look like me doing something at least similar to what I'm doing, to know that I can be successful at it. The theme that has come up has been talking about being a dad and what that means to being a dad. And, what the, we know that all children that are growing up need a mother and a father, if that's a possibility, and as close as you can get to that, and being involved in their lives and loving them and doing all those things. But sometimes we don't think about, for dads, how much we get out of being able to be the dad and the fight that sometimes we have to go through in order to sometimes see our kids, or sometimes, a whole crazy system of child support that tries to kind of take that away. And the things that literally have happened, in our country over the last 400 years, who has separated families and taken them apart and making it a little bit more difficult to do something that we get so much out of when we do it. And so we get to talk about all these things today. And so, Jason, please, tell us your story. Tell us all about your life and where you came from, and then we'll be able to chop it up right after that. So thank you again for being part of this.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. Yes, my name is Jason Delancey. I was born and raised here in Denver, Colorado. Went to high school at George Washington High School, but I was raised in Montbello, born and raised in Montbello. And
so somebody take you to GW then.
Huh?
Somebody had to take you to GW if you went around across town to go to school.
Hey, the computer magnet program took me to GW.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Good.
Yes, I was big on the computers back in them days, you know. So
Okay.
I went there because of the computer magnet program. Plus, my older brother went to George Washington High School also, so I had a little bit of, you know, a little bit of stuff from him, you know, from watching him go there. But one of the things I really wanted to share today, pretty much, like you said, tell my story is my fatherhood journey.
Okay.
It's never really been a good journey. It's had bright spotlights in it, but it was always dark to me. It was always a dark tunnel, just because of the stuff that I had to go through, and it was stuff that I never see nobody go through, and point blank really wouldn't want to see another person go through, just because I felt like I got a lot of unfairness in my judgments when I was going to court and dealing with, child custody and everything like that. So just to give a quick little, because there's so much in depth with my story, but I'm just going to try to do the best I can with an overview. When I met a female, we started talking, we started hanging out and everything like that, and one thing led to another, and she ended up getting pregnant. At that time, I ended up moving to Miami because I was trying to pursue an acting career, something in the film industry. So I moved to Miami for a little bit, and when I was in Miami, that's when I found out that she was pregnant. So I spent maybe about 4 or 5 months in Miami, and then I came back home because I didn't want her to have to do none of this stuff on her own. So I came back home, and we made an agreement that we was going to try to do this the right way. At that time, we wasn't boyfriend and girlfriend. We were still cool and keeping in touch and everything, but we wasn't a couple. We wasn't an item. At this time, I was 26 years old, and so I was still young-minded, and I always knew in the back of my mind that I never wanted to be a father that didn't have no kind of insight or any kind of communication or nothing with their child. I always wanted to be a father and not what I consider a dad. And the reason why I say that, dad is just somebody that just does the job, but a father is somebody that does the job and also takes care of the job. He sits there and he watches and he grows with the child and stuff like that. So I always wanted to be a father. I grew up in a household with my mother and my father, so that's what I was used to seeing. Fast forward a little bit, the first time I ever met my my son's mom's parents was when I went to the hospital to go see my son be born. Now, before that, I used to always ask her, like, let me meet your parents. You always come over to my house and see my family. You eat with us and everything. Let me go meet your parents and stuff. But I was never ever invited over there, and it kind of threw me off. I was like, why am I not invited over to this girl's house? But she can always come over to my house.
Mhm.
So it kind of made me think, different things than what I really wanted to think. Now, first reason is because she's Hispanic and white. So I automatically thought maybe she doesn't want her parents knowing that she got pregnant by a black guy. So that just always stuck in my mind. But fast forward to the day my son was born, that was the first time I actually met her parents. And when I met them, they looked at me like I was nobody. Like, who are you? Like, now you want to come around and you haven't been around. So they never really knew me. They just knew what their daughter was telling them about me, which is false
Yeah.
because I've always been there. Um, Even when she was pregnant, she wasn't working. I was taking care of the bills. I was paying for everything. I was giving her money and stuff. I was buying all the kids' stuff because my uncle told me one time, a long time ago, he said, if you ever get a girl pregnant, make sure you keep your receipts. So that
Wow.
always stuck with me. Make sure you keep your receipts. So I always kept every receipt for everything I bought. Now, I want to say probably about when my son was maybe about 6 months or so. Um, Me and his mom, we got into an argument about me purchasing an item for some diapers. It was small, but it was big to her, to where she didn't like the outcome, and she said, "Okay, I'm just gonna put you on child support." And I said, "All right, well, I don't know why you want to put me on child support because basically you're gonna get more out of me if you don't put me on child support. But if you put me on child support, now you're creating a tension between us that's not good, you know." So anyway, that's what she did. She put me on child support, and I went to court for the first time for my son, and he was probably maybe about 2 years old, no, about maybe a year and a half to 2 years old, somewhere in that area. And when I went to court thinking, okay, let's go to court, let's talk to the judge. I'm pretty sure that, the judge is going to be, 50-50 and open to my reasoning and opening to your reasoning, and somewhere we can find a mediate or a medium in between there. I was totally wrong when I went to court, because I went to court, thinking that everything was going to be fair, but I was totally wrong, because when I went there, she had walked into court with a family lawyer, a guy who has been the lawyer for their family for some years. I went to court by myself because at the time, I didn't have no money to pay for no lawyer, and I didn't think it was going to get as deep as it actually got. So, first time I went to court, they ran over me. They told me, that I had to pay child support in arrears for. I think I had to pay maybe like about 8,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 just in arrears for child support. And that's when I gave the judge, I said, "Well, Judge, look at all these receipts. I bought everything. Everything. When she was pregnant, I supplied everything. I bought her food. I bought my son all these diapers. I bought his stroller. I bought his clothes, everything." And the judge looked at my receipts and told me, "You know what this is? This is considered gifts."
What?
That's considered gifts. So basically, there was nothing I could do with all those receipts.
Mhm.
So it's basically like saying I didn't even have receipts. She said those was looked at as gifts. And I
Mhm.
said, okay, all right. So that's how I got hit in the face with that $7,000 arrears. Then on top of that, she threw 750 a month on top of that. So at this time I'm only making I'm only making like what, 16, $17 an hour, because I was working for AT&T before they did the merge to Comcast. So I was a cable technician. I would go to people's houses and I would,
Mhm.
install their cable or install the phone or the internet and stuff like that. So my money wasn't big. I
Yeah.
was living paycheck to paycheck still. So I'm like, wow, you put me in a hole for 7,000. Now you asking for 750 on top of that. I'm like, I don't even know how I'm gonna survive. Like I don't know how I'm gonna do it. And it brings stuff into your mind to where, damn, what am I gonna do, man? Am I gonna have to go to the streets? Do I gotta go sell drugs? Do I gotta go rob somebody? Like, how am I gonna make it to where I can survive too?
Mhm.
So it was just a lot to deal with. And then, more uh more fuel to the fire was when my son's mom, at the time, she had told the judge that I was smoking marijuana. Now, when I met my son's mom, I was smoking marijuana, and the whole time that she was pregnant, I was smoking marijuana. But it didn't become a problem to her until we went to court and wanted to find a way to try to put her foot on my neck. So she
Mhm.
told the judge, "Oh yeah, I don't want him around the baby because he's smoking marijuana, and I can't trust him around the kid and stuff." And so, with me not having no lawyer, nobody to stand there and talk to me, the judge said, "Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put him on supervised visits." So, in order for him to see his child, he has to pay $50 an hour to see his child.
You have to pay for supervised visits? Oh my
I had,
gosh, I didn't
I
know
had to
that.
pay $50 an hour to see my child. And in order to get to that point, I had to get to that point first. In order to get to that point, I had to show for, I want to say, about a year, 6 months to a year, that my system was clean, that I wasn't doing no more marijuana. I wasn't smoking no more weed. So I told the judge, I said, all right, no problem. I'll go ahead and stop smoking or whatever.
Mhm.
My son's mom, this is how crazy she is. She told the judge, she said, "Hey, judge, just to let you know, he knows how to pass them P
Oh
tests.
gosh.
So the judge said, oh, really? Does he? So what we're going to do is we're going to make him take hair samples. So
But that stays in, it stuffs in your hair for a long time, right?
it stays in your hair for, I'll say, at least 6 months. So that's why I had to wait 6 months before I can even go see my son, before I can even pay for a supervised visit. I had to show the courts first that I was clean before I can even go to a supervised visit.
Mhm.
So that took about, like I said, at least about 6 months, a little bit over, maybe 6 months to get to the point to where I can do supervised visits. So now let's fast forward. I'm at supervised visits now. I would always set my supervised visits for 2 hours because $100, that's all I really had. I was broke. I mean, I'm still broke today, but back then I was broke, so I would do maybe $100 every week or every 2 weeks to go to this little house and spend 2 hours with my son while this lady follows us around everywhere we go. Okay. I mean, she followed us into the bathroom. That's how crazy it was. So anyway, I did the supervised visits. We did that for about 2 years, maybe. I think I did supervised visits for about 2 years. Then went back to court and judge said, okay, I see that you have stopped smoking. I see that you have started your supervised visits. Things are going okay. Let's talk about visitation rates. So visitation rates was crazy as well because when I was granted visitation rights, it was only for a certain amount of hours a day. So it would be maybe the weekends. I'll probably get maybe 6 to 7 hours. There was no overnights. There was no overnights, and I kind of got upset. I'm like, well, this is crazy, But it is what it is. I can't keep fighting because I don't have a leg to stand on because I don't have no money to purchase a lawyer to help me get through this fire. I got to go through this fire by myself, And that's one thing that I don't think is very fair when it comes to the judicial system, especially when you're dealing with kids, because the judges always say they're looking out for the kids' best interests. But at the end of the day, is that really true? Which I don't really see it being really true, because I think the representation that you walk in with is what's really going to help you out, not from what the judge seeing, which is what is fair and what's fit for the baby. I think it's your reputation or representation. Another reason why I say that is important to have representation, because I'm the type of person, and I know there's a lot of guys that are like me. When you know that you have so much to throw out there that is truth and so much to back you, sometimes it gets hard for you to deliver it in a sensible way. I'm the type of person, sometimes if I keep hearing the negative and negative and negative, it's going to turn me into a negative person when I start responding.
Yeah, of course.
And that's not good. No judge wants to see that. Even though nobody's perfect, we all get angry and we all get attitudes at times. You can't express that in front of a judge and inside of a courtroom, because it's never going to work for your best interest. And that's what I see the reason of having a lawyer or attorney there, because they're not speaking with emotion like you are. They're speaking with common sense, and it's hard to speak with emotion because sometimes what you're trying to get across doesn't always get across the way that you want it to be interpreted. Sometimes people interpret it the wrong way, It's kind of like, just a side note, it's kind of like text messages, Sometimes I hate texting people because sometimes they read it the wrong way,
Of course, yeah.
And I mean, you can get in all kind of arguments over that. I've dealt with it in relationships before, like, hey, I didn't mean that, but that's what you text, but that's not what I meant. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, the tone's not there. The body language, all the things that are part of communication are not just the words.
exactly.
And so yeah, I can see how that. Well, in the courtroom, I can also see where if you're upset because somebody's lying about something that you are doing or saying, then you're getting angry with them. Right. But it reflects to the judge that's watching the interaction, and what can you do, right? Because you've already, it sounds like I believe in most cases, you started off behind the 8 ball anyways, right? You
Mhm.
have to prove yourself, where the other person just has to say whatever they want to say, and then all of a sudden you're in the defense,
Yeah.
trying to make it happen, and where a lawyer could probably, or an attorney could probably help through that and say no, because you could be as mad as you want, but you're not the one having to express it, right?
Right. Right. So yeah, it definitely gets tough in that situation. Um, let's see. So I did the supervised visits. So I've been on child support since my son was 6 months, because it seems like, well, actually before 6 months, because they went in arrears. So I've been on child support for, it's about to be 19 years. My son turns 19 on the 23rd of December. So I got my fingers crossed that I want my case closed. 'Cause,
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not supposed to pay child support forever, right? If you're 40-year-old and you still.
hey, the funny thing about it is I always thought it was 18. So last year I called the lady. I said, hey, my son about to turn 18. I would like my case closed. I'm getting ready to throw a party. She said, you might want to stop those invitations. I said, why? Why you say that? She said, because the kid's got to be 19, not 18. I said, when did that happen? She said, oh, some years ago. They changed it to 19 and they need to be graduated from high school. So I said,
What?
yes.
So if they're not graduated from high school, like, so they drop out or whatever. So how long do you continue to have to pay?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I
Nobody wants to know
know.
that, right? To
I
get
don't
you
know.
help your kid to graduate.
My son graduated, so I never asked that question.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. Like, yeah, why? Okay, I'll let you keep going because this is so intriguing.
So yeah, so once he turns 19 in December, I'm gonna call them and ask them to take me off of child support. One of the reasons why this is so big to me right now is because, and I know I'm getting sidetracked, but it's so much stuff that just pops in my mind when I get to talk about this. Um, One of the things that recently happened to me was I was getting ready to go on a trip about a month ago, a month or two ago. I was getting ready to go on a trip, and when I went to the bank that morning because I wanted to get some cash. So when I get out there, I don't have to go searching for a bank or nothing. So I went to the bank that morning, and I was going to withdraw some money out of my account, and I looked and I seen that there was $4,500 taken out of my savings account. So automatically I get upset, like what happened? So I go into the bank. Now when I'm sitting in the bank line, it dawned on me. It said, why don't you look at your phone and pull up the app and see where the money went? So I went into my app and I looked in there and I seen that child support had took $4,500 out of my savings account. I was livid. I was upset. I was furious about this because you guys just took my vacation money. So I go down to the child support building. Mind you, this is a Friday. My flight leaves at 5 p.m. that Friday. I'm at the child support office around 12, upset, asking them, where's my money? Where's my money? So what they telling me, because let me also remind you that I've been making payments on my child support.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been making payments. So for them to go and garnish my checkings or my savings account, I didn't know what that was about. So
Yeah.
anyway, I went and talked to them, and I sat down there for about 2 hours because they was giving me the runarounds, talk to this person, call these people, call these people. Nobody wanted to help me. But I finally got somebody that told me the reason why they took it is because they have a new remedy stating that if people owe child support, I guess this is what the lady told me. She said they run a check on people's social security number once a year. If that social security number links up to a bank account and they find out that you got money in that bank account, they're going to take it.
But you were behind, right? Or you were making payments or whatever, right?
I was currently making payments, and the reason why I was making, so like I said, the story gets, there's so much into this story, but for the last year and a half, I haven't worked because I got into an accident in 2022.
Okay.
So in 2022, I got into a accident and I'm going through rehab and everything. So my job let me work for about a year after that. on light duty, and then after that they pretty much furloughed me and told me you got to go home and get healthy and then come back. We don't have no more light duty. So I was off of work for about a year and a half. So last July in 2023 was the last time I actually clocked in at my job.
Gotcha. Okay.
At that time, I had a caseworker who was helping me out with my child support. She had understood everything that I was going through, and I told her, I said, well, right now I've been furloughed, but my job told me that I can get unemployment. So I'm going to shoot for unemployment, and anything you guys can take out of that, you can go ahead and take. But I'm going to get unemployment. So I got unemployment that lasts for about 12 weeks. Then that cut off. They ended that. So then my I don't know what happened to my caseworker, but a few months after that, this year, I got an email from another caseworker, and she's telling me that she's my new caseworker, and she needs to know what's going on with my child support and stuff like that. So I tell her, I said, well, the caseworker that I had before knew everything that was going on, and she told me that she was going to work with me because I haven't been working. So if there's stuff that I need to pay to try to, stay out of trouble or whatever, let me know. Then I'll try to get it done. But right now, I'm trying to find ways to get back to work because I'm going through a lot of health problems right now.
Mm-hmm.
So all that pretty much went in one ear and out the other with her because she's like, I don't care. I need this money, So what she told me is that she was going to suspend my driver's license if I didn't make a $500 payment. So I said, okay, well, I can't afford to lose my driver's license. So what I'll do is I'll try to find ways and scrounge up $500 and I'll pay you guys, this $500. So that's what I went and did. I made a $500 payment. 2 weeks later is when they went and they garnished the money out of my account. So
Wow.
I was like, this is just ridiculous, And I called the people and I told them, I said, hey, man, you guys took money out of my account. I've been making payments to you guys, trying to get, trying to stay, in good gracious with you guys, but you guys went and took my money out of my account. I didn't know you guys could do that. And that's all the money that I have for the year. You guys did that right before Christmas. This is like the worst time of the year for you to go in there and steal somebody's money out of their account. So what they told me is they said, okay, yeah, you can do an appeal, but in order for you to get the money back, you have to fall up under these certain stipulations. I didn't fall up under none of them. Like one of them was pretty much you got to be on your deathbed.
Oh gosh.
Another one was pretty much it had to be a business account that they took the money out of, not a personal account. So it was all these little things that I didn't fall up under. So I know, in my gut, it told me once they take the money out your account, you ain't gonna get it back.
You're not getting it back, yeah.
Right. So I said, okay, it is what it is. Do what you got to do. So that is one of the child support things that really, really got to me recently. Because I've never been a person that is pro child support. Now, when I say that, I say if there are fathers out there that are not involved in those child's lives, then yes, I do agree. Those fathers need to pay something. I do agree with that. But when you have fathers that are out here working and helping and being in their child's lives and stuff, and they're giving all they can, and you guys are just looking at calculations and what the mother is telling you and stuff, and then you just put your foot on the guy's neck, it's not fair. It's not fair. There's a lot of guys out here who are in their kids' lives big time and have to pay a lot of child support. And the kids stay with them a lot of times. I've seen it. I know a lot of guys that go through that stuff, that they have their kids 50% of the time and they still paying child support. I don't think that's fair. Because if I have my child 50% of the time, you got our child 50% of the time, you don't owe me nothing and I don't owe you nothing. We owe our child something. And I don't see why child support looks at it differently to say, it don't matter if you in your child's life, you still got to pay her because she's taking care of the child as well, So it's a lot of stuff with child support that I just don't get and probably won't never get because I don't think it's a fair system, But it is what it is, and like I say, there are some dads out there that do need to be on child support. There are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just It's just a different situation for me, though.
Yeah.
It seems like all the good fathers that I know have to go through fire to be with their child. But there's a lot of guys that I know that are just dads that have it easy. I know a lot of dads that don't have to pay child support, you know, but I know a lot of fathers that have to pay a lot of child support. And it seems like it's backwards to me, but when you're dealing with the system, it's kind of hard to figure out the system. I don't think nobody can figure out the system.
Yeah, no, the systems are designed to get out, almost all our systems and that have been so bad over the years that are designed to get out, they get out exactly what they were designed to do. And if we think about it, I mean, just to kind of go through some of these stats that I've been looking at, where there has been systems that have been put in place to take families apart from each other, to divide families as much as they possibly could, because if you can do that, then you don't have strong units, right? And so you think about, even like slavery, this is from the sheet I'm just reading off of here, says from 16 to 1865, obviously that slaves were pulled around from their families. They were, almost as like breeding animals, where they would say, okay, we need you to make us a few kids so we can have some people that are slaves, but we're going to sell you off to somebody else. And then we have Reconstruction in 1865 to 1877. Black codes customized unemployment and criminalized unemployment and minor infractions disproportionately incarcerated Black men. So they started just because you were unemployed back then. So think of like 1865. If you're unemployed, you could go to jail for being unemployed. Like,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. We had Jim Crow laws in 1877, 1865. Where segregation, economic disenfranchisement, limiting Black men's ability to support families. Redlining and housing discrimination. Housing policies denied Black families access to stable, safe neighborhoods. Mass incarceration from 1970 to 19 present takes fathers out of households. Welfare policies where Black men weren't even allowed to live with women, and they didn't get married as a result of pulling dads out of families. Economic discrimination and unemployment, persistent workplace discrimination, racial violence and lynching post-Civil War, segregation and educational systems that stop folks from coming, unequal schooling opportunities, limited Black men's access to higher education and upward mobility. And so all these different things, stereotyping in media, in culture, and, where Black men have gotten this really bad rap about not wanting to be fathers and not wanting to be there and not taking care, and the whole deadbeat dad thing. No, it hasn't been easy. It's been incredibly hard. And the system is, like you said, they're not even considering what you are trying to do. The fact, gifts. Well, since when is a diaper a gift, right? Like,
Right.
you wear diapers because you need to wear them because, you're pooping peeing on yourself, for the kids who are doing it. Tell me a little bit about, these systems suck, but you still got to be a father. So tell me a little bit about what that has been like over the last 19 years and, maybe the good pieces. I mean, obviously it doesn't sound like their mom has been too cordial in letting you do anything, but you still have been able to. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, like I said, I told her from day one, you're not going to turn me into a deadbeat dad.
Mm-hmm.
When my son was born, I was the first person to hold my son. I was the first person to talk to him, to look at him, everything, and I remember the first thing I told him, I said, I got you now, and I ain't going to let you go. So regardless if he was just born and he heard that or not and understood it, he sees it, He sees it 19 years, almost 19 years later, he sees it. He sees that I've never left the picture. Never left the picture. He's seen me fight. He's seen me go through them courts. He's seen the child support stuff. He's seen all that, and all I do is continue to stay in the picture, because I feel like if I continue to stay in the picture, what he sees, he will understand and respect later on down in life. So we've had a lot of great times. Like I said, I went to film school, and when I went to film school, one of the big things in film school that I wanted to do was document a lot of
Mhm.
stuff with me and my son, because I know the type of mother that he has, that if I always thought if I was to pass away at a young age, I want him to know who I really was. So I
Mhm. Yeah.
documented a lot. I documented the supervised visits. I documented when we go to the zoo. I documented we go to the elegies everywhere. I documented sitting around playing around the house. I bought him a little car. I documented that. I document everything because you never know when your last day is going to come.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I always wanted him to see who his real dad was,
Mhm.
besides of hearing from somebody else. You know, so we had a lot of good times, a lot of good times, and throughout all my trials and tribulations of dealing with his mom, I was able to sit back one day and think of, I went through a lot. I don't want to see another person go through this. How can I try to help other fathers with the awareness of this could happen?
Mhm.
So in 2017, I started a nonprofit organization called Fathers Against Madness. And when I started that with the mind frame of thinking, I want to get a spot where fathers can come together, talk to each other about their issues, and figure out how to get past those issues. Sometimes you need another man to talk to, somebody that's been through what you didn't been through, to get you
Mhm.
through what you're trying to go through. So I wanted to create that type of forum for fathers to do. And we started that on Saturdays. We was doing it at a friend's club. I had a friend of mine had a club called Apex in Aurora, from Herman White. Good dude, Mr. Herman White. He helped me get that started, and I started to do forums at his club on Saturday mornings, where we invite fathers down and we just sit back and talk, and we did that for, like I said, about 6 months, and then it just got to a point to where I felt like what I would it wasn't what I was envisioning for the long run. I wasn't getting a lot of fathers participation, and stuff was just dying down. So I kind of killed it for a little bit. Then I got involved in Urban Leadership Foundation. Um, and that's ran from Dr. Ryan Ross and
Mhm.
Mr. Wellington Webb. They run that. It's called ULF. But I got involved in that. It's a leadership program to where we used to have to go out in the community and help people, help the homeless, help people that need stuff. But during that time, we always had to dress up and wear suits and shirts and ties and stuff.
Mhm.
I've always been a tennis shoe, t-shirt, jean type of guy. I like to be laid back. But when I got into the leadership program, we had to dress up and go out in the community. Now, one thing that I noticed when I went into the community with these clothes on, I noticed that people have started looking at me a whole lot different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of like I wasn't Jason no more. I was Mr. Jason. You know,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. People was looking at me like, man, who is this dude? I remember going in the grocery stores, and you get that attention. It's not the attention that I used to get, because the attention I used to get is, we got to watch him, see where he going, where he might steal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now it's a different type of attention. Like, who is he? He played for the Broncos, or is he a Nugget, or who is he? So it's different, because now I'm looked at as I'm somebody, just
Gotcha.
as before when I was looked at as anybody. So I wanted to give that type of power that I felt like I had with these suits. I wanted to give that to other fathers that don't know about it, because it took
Mhm.
me a while to find out about it. It took me a long time to find out that there's power in these clothes and there's power in these suits. So I wanted to give that to other fathers. So with the Fathers Against Madness, we took a little turn on it. And during my time in the ULF, we had started an event to where we was doing a suit giveaway and a resource fair for fathers.
Mhm.
So the weekend before Father's Day, I would gather suits from family and friends, donations. They would give me suits and clothes and stuff. And the week before Father's Day, we have an event, and we'll invite fathers down, and we give them free massages, we give them free haircuts, we have free food, we have music, we have stuff for the kids, we have speakers, we have vendors, and then at the end, I give them suits so they can use for Father's Day and use for job interviews. And that's how event that we currently have to this day right now got started. The Fathers Against Madness suit giveaway and resource fair. So this year or next year actually will be year 8. So we've been doing it for about 7 years. It's been standing strong, and we give away at least about 100 to 200 suits a year. So that I took what I was going through, all that fire and all that trials and tribulations, and I turned it into something positive. It took a while for me to figure out how to do that, but I took it and I turned it into positive. And then it made my son's mom actually also look at me different, because now she's looking at me like I can't push no button no more because I don't know what button to push. He's been grown up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He knows how to be responsible. He knows how to be respectful. He knows even if he's angry, not to show it, you know? So with me doing that, it helped other fathers, but it also helped my situation in a sense, because now she feels like I don't know what to do, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah.
He's out there helping other fathers get through the stuff that I put him through. So what can I do to him now? And I mean, don't get me wrong, some days she still might try, but you know,
It's more cordial now, though, right? I mean, it's
more
at least a relationship that you can, have around your son.
pretty much, yes.
Which is so neat. What I want to do, I want to, first just thank you for enduring and doing what so many other men don't have, whether it's the support or just have something in their minds that say that this isn't worth this fight. This isn't. And then we think about, when like when we talk about military people and they go over and they fight for us in our country and make it. But sometimes the dad's here, in the service that you mean to our society, because your son is going to grow up seeing all the things you did to make sure that you had a relationship with him. Mm-hmm. And that probably means more than most things that could happen, whether it was good times or bad times or hard times or easy times. He grows up with a different sense than a child who grows up and says, my dad didn't care, my dad just gave up, my dad didn't want to be here. And then to think once he has his own kids, what his thought process is on being a dad. And I think if we have more people like yourself who are willing to just say, you know what, my kid matters more to me than all the stuff that I can be put through. I'm so glad you shared your story, because I think there's a lot of people who can relate, to, oh my gosh, this is hell. I'm going through hell for 20 years. And, you think 20 years when you're going through it is a long time, but then you think, man, that boy was just born a couple days ago is the way that it feels, right? Like it's been gone so fast, and then you think about the next 40 or 50 years you get to have with him, and the relationship that you guys will get, that you get to enjoy and grow up. And then the fact that you're helping other men be able to do the same thing, and that you can walk them through and have them a place to talk. How has your identity changed? Like the person that you were when this all started compared to the man? I mean, you talked about it a little bit, but if you think from a viewpoint of this is what I thought I needed to be, is to be able to get through compared to what it's like now. What are some key things or some key ways that you were able to shift that identity?
Let's see, off the top of my head, one of the biggest things was my my circle of people that I was around. I was around a lot of people that was doing a lot of negative stuff back then, I mean, I was in my younger 20s, so I was still trying to find out who I was, so I was hanging around, a lot of the wrong crowd back in the days. And today, I don't do that today. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't look at them and say we can't be friends, or I don't talk to them or nothing like that no more. But I don't put myself in situations where I don't feel comfortable no more, to where before I was living my life for me. Now I'm living my life for me and my son. I have somebody else that's looking up towards me. So I have to think about things differently, and I have to act differently. I don't want him to grow up looking at some of the negative stuff that I do and trying to copy it, and then it taking him down the wrong path, because there's some things that I do to this day that are still negative, but I know how to handle those, and I don't do it in front of him, you know, like sometimes I might have a drink. I mean, sometimes I do like to have a cocktail. So sometimes I like to have a drink, but I try not to drink around him because I don't want him thinking, oh shoot, after dad had a long day, he came home and had a drink. I guess that's what I'm gonna be doing when I get older, So I try to hide stuff like that from him. But then there's some stuff that I don't try to hide because I don't want him to hide stuff from me. So I try to, it's a thin line between that, but I just changed my ways a lot to where, like I said, I'm not looking at life as it's just about me. It's not about me no more. It's about me and him,
Yeah, which is so cool. One of the things you said is, you changed your circle. And I think a lot of people ask, it's something we say a lot. We say, hey, the people that you hang around with are probably make within $10,000 that you make, that they do the same kind of things that you do. If you are the smartest person in your circle, you're in the wrong circle. I mean, I say stuff like that all the time to people that I'm coaching. But at the same time, what are some of the things that you did or have done or continue to do to change that circle? Because one thing to say you need to be in a good circle, it's to hear that, I got to be in a better circle of friends. But you just don't walk out your front door and all of a sudden there's a new circle of people, hugging you, wanting to hang out with you. What do you have to do to make sure that happens? What's the commitment like?
The biggest commitment for me was learning how to stay inside more. Okay. Stop going outside so much because that's where a lot of the trouble comes, outside. Stop going to the club so much. Stop going to bars so much, Stop trying to chase women so much, Mm-hmm. It's just simple stuff like that, that can, if you stay on track with it, it can change your life. Start going to the gym, and stuff like that will help you think positive too, because like the gym, that's a great example. When you go to the gym, you don't see people in the gym drinking. You don't see the people in the gym smoking. You don't see the people in the gym acting a fool. You see people in there focused and working out. And when they done, they walk out, It's just different from me going to the mall. When I go to the mall, I might see somebody in there drunk, somebody in there stealing, somebody in there smelling like marijuana, somebody just not focused, So one of the biggest things for me was learning how to stay home, stay out the streets, because I lived in the streets a lot, because that's where I felt like I needed to get my smarts from the streets. I had some book smarts, but I needed to develop street smarts in order to survive. And I felt like in order for me to get the street smarts, I got to be in the streets, So once I changed my ways of being in the streets so much and learned how to sit at home and learned that I can entertain myself at home as well, then I started to see a lot clearer and I started to make better decisions for myself, and not just for myself, but for my son as well.
Man, this is so good because you're saying stuff that is so, the thought process, right? The thought process of I got to survive, and in order to survive, I have to be out in the streets. And then you realize there's a whole nother world of survival, right? What does it mean to survive when you're doing that? When you think about different places that you can go to up your game, to be in association with different people. I think about the gym, and when I go to the gym, if I'm going to go and I want to be, let's say I want to grow a lot of muscle and I want to be super strong and I want to have a body that, women or whoever would love, then I'm not going to go to the gym and hang out with the fat guy that's talking to everybody when they walk in, right? I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to talk to the guy who's working out and has the body that I want. I'm going to figure out how I can get in and work out with him and see what he does. And have several people like that. The guy that does cardio, if I'm going to churches or I'm going to community groups, or I'm finding places where people that are like what I think I want to be, and hanging out and seeing that that's what it is. And, like you said, staying inside and reading, and we have social media and YouTube and all the other things that you can begin to work on you, the personal development side of you, that allows you to not crave some of those bad situations that you knew were bad, but you didn't know anything else, right? Or you didn't know, hey, what else is there? Now you look back and you go out there and like, man, I hung out here. You know, because once your mind decides to start growing, it's hard to go back to where you knew, wait a minute, I'm wasting hours. There's only so many in a day, and I can't use them all up hanging out with these folks. But what it does mean is, and I appreciate your sacrifice in here, is those folks that you hung out with. I mean, like you said, they're still probably part of your family, they're part of, your group of friends, but they're not your everyday, all day folks anymore. Especially if they don't change, because if everybody's not changing, everyone has grown, because you have another human being that is looking up to you to say, what is my life going to be like? And if you're in the streets all the time and that's all they see and that's what they hear and their mom's talking bad about you and all that kind of thing, then they grow up thinking a whole different thing about what their life is supposed to be like, right? And what they have the ability to do. I'm sure being in the nonprofit space, talking to, Dr. Webb and Ryan and all the folks you have, they have been associations that have been good for you as well. I mean, because I know all three of them, so I know that, they're doing some things in the community that make a difference. When you went into the community and started doing stuff, how did that change who you are?
It didn't really change as much as I thought it would change, because I've always been the type of person that wants to put smiles on people's faces and make people feel good. That's just who I am. That's the reason why I get on stage and I tell jokes, because I love to bring happiness to people. I love to see people smile, So when I got out into the community and started doing a lot of community service work, it was just another form of me giving out smiles and putting happiness in people's lives. It's just another form of what I've already been doing.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. And then I guess, what comes with that, I guess, is some resources that you may not have had in the past to be able to help you along as you're doing the Fathers Against Madness. And so when you think about trusting people now, and I know, because trust is one of those pillars that it's hard to come by, right? Because you have people who've let you down, and you have a string of examples of, even the story you told of people you can't trust. How do you approach people now, or, cautiously, or to be able to trust that you're going in the right direction, or you're just trusting yourself? How does trust play a part in your life?
Trust to me is real big, because if I can't trust you, then I feel like I can't do nothing with you, and that's just coming from family sense. That's coming from a friend sense. If I can't trust you, then I can't do nothing for you. I can't do nothing with you, to me, I hold trust real big, because it shows character and it shows who you are. If you tell me that you're going to do something and you do it, that shows who you are. That shows me that you are dependable, somebody I can lean on when I need, It's difficult to talk about, especially in a father's situation, because it's hard to trust a lot of people when you're trying to be a father. The only person you feel like you really can trust is your child, because they're so innocent, they don't know what's going on, but it's so many other people that it's hard to trust. Like I thought I could trust a judge. I can't trust judges, I thought I could trust my son's mom. I can't trust her, It's just a lot of stuff that you find out, like child support caseworkers. I'd be thinking I could trust them. You can't trust them either, So once you're dealing with a situation with fatherhood, you find out there's a lot of people that you really can't trust. But in order to try to get by that is just, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to answer. I mean, that's kind of like saying, how do you get through life knowing there's people that can't be trusted? That's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, no, it is, because you can't go through life and not trust, but you got to find a way or a system or a mannerism that allows you to, because then you just wake up every day just wanting not to get up,
right?
And so I appreciate you trying to answer it, because and that there's difficulty in it, because that's that circle of people that you have to figure out and find that you can begin to build relations with, that you can trust. And for some of us, it's going to take a year. It's going to take 2 years before I trust you. It's going to take us going through some stuff together before that trust happens. And I respect that, and I think it's a necessary part. As we get ready to come down, I really would love for you. You have a nonprofit, and there's fathers that are going to watch this. They're going to look at our subtitle. They're going to watch this, and they're going to hear your story. What can you say to them that would help them not give up on that precious child that they have, or on themselves, to be able to fight through this? What are some recourses that they may have? I know talking about it is good and that's helpful, but at the end of the day, once you talk about it, you still may be in the same situation, you may still be going through the same stuff, right? So what are some resources or things that people can do, or dads can do, so that they can maintain being the father that they need to be?
Oh man, that's even a harder question. Because it's hard to tell a father what to do to get out of a slump or a situation that they're in, because everybody's situation is different.
Yeah.
So it's hard to just give a pinpoint answer on what to do. One of the things that I know will never fail you, and one of the things that I always stuck to, was praying. I prayed to God a lot. I talked to God a lot, because I felt like I need to talk to somebody who's not going to be judgmental. And sometimes you don't know who that person could be.
Yeah.
You might think it's a family member, but it's probably not a family member. You might think it's a friend, but it's probably not a friend. You might think it's a girlfriend, but it's probably not that girlfriend either. You need to find somebody who's not judgmental and talk to them and see if they can try to help you out. For me, it was God. I talked to God a lot, and I wasn't getting direct answers, but every moment or every day that I woke up with something new. So I don't know if he was putting it in my dreams or not, but I woke up with something new. I stayed focused, never lose focus, because once you lose focus, then you lose everything. So I stayed focused. I maintained my will to want to stay a father. Even though I wasn't seeing my son every day, I would call him. We have phone conversations. So I would try to stay in contact with him a lot, because sometimes a kid can give you an answer too. Sometimes the kid can, just being around your kid can give you a lot of clarification on what you need to do. Oh, my kid, like, I'll give an example. I go pick my kid up from school, and I see he come out with a backpack and he got homework. Now it's easy for me to just pick him up from school and go home, and we just sit there and I do what I do and he do what he do. But what I want to do is I pick him up and we go home and we start working on that homework, because that's quality time. I feel like the more quality time you spend with your kid, the more your kid will enjoy you and learn to respect you and love you more.
Yeah.
But if you don't spend that time with them, then somebody else is going to spend that time with them that you don't want. So that was one of the biggest things that I never wanted. I never wanted my son to call another man dad. Never. And I would have went crazy if he did, So if his mom had a boyfriend or whatever, I would tell my son, hey, I'm your daddy. Don't ever forget that. You know what I'm saying? If you need anything, if you need to talk, if you need anything, I'm always going to be your best friend, So that was big on me, just making sure that he always knew that he could always turn to me if he needed me, or he could always call me if he needed me, or he could say, Dad, come get me. I want to go see a movie, or I want to go get something to eat. He always know he can do that, and I always would drop everything and go pick it up for him, So I would just say, stay focused, man. Stay focused. Stay true to yourself. If fatherhood is what you really want, is what you really enjoy, is what you really want to do, then it's not as hard as people think. You know what I'm saying? Things that make it hard is the people that's trying to push you away. Like his mom, she was trying to push us away from each other, because if me and her don't get along, then now she wants to make it to where me and him don't get to see each other. But you can't do that for somebody that's going to fight and fight and fight. And she couldn't understand why I kept fighting and fighting and fighting. I told her, I said, man, I told you from day one, I'm not going to be a deadbeat dad. It's my only child. I had my son when I was 26 years old. That's my only son. And he a junior. I ain't going nowhere. You know, now me and you might not get along, and that's fine and dandy. But hey, let's at least try to be respectful when we're in each other's company. You know, so when I go to events like when my son was in high school, when he had his senior day for football, you're supposed to walk your child down the field or whatever. We did that together. You know. And it made me feel good that we was able to finally do something together, because we don't have no family pictures. I mean, regardless if we're not boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife, we still have a son, so we still are family. So, but we don't have that one family picture. So that was like our only family picture was when he was a senior. We walking him down the field. So, kind of felt good, but then it kind of felt like, man, it's a long time. It's overdue, you know?
Wow. Well, man, as I think through it, and I can remember when I was a football coach and how many times I had to go back in the line and walk another senior down because dad wasn't there.
Yeah.
Go back in line and walk another one down. Just appreciate you coming on today and talking about what is a hard subject, because there are no perfect answers. There's no, because every relationship is so different and every way they treat it, but the fight is real. And so for those of you who are watching and signed up and say, I feel this way, I don't know what to do. Part of the Journey to Freedom program is about putting you in relationships and transformative groups and places. The organization is Fathers Against Madness, where folks are trying to get resources into your hand. Jason's trying to make sure that you have the tools you need to get through this, because the kids are the people who end up losing. And I will even submit that by this fight, Jason is a better man. By going through this, he has a different sense of what the rest of his life is going to be like, at the point where, now there's not, child support's going to be over, and that having to have that, his mom will always be his mom, but the amount of times that he has to interact with her is going to change. And so now he's going to be able to go out and make a huge difference in a community based on all this experience and the things he learns. And so can you by doing it. And so take this as a marching order to say, hey, the fight is worth it. It's worth being a father to your child. And even when the difficult times come, there's ways to get through it. And Jason is a great example of, hey, I did this. He's not telling you this is year 2 right now, and we're having this conversation, and he's so mad because of all the things that are happening. He's saying, I'm here, we've got through this, and now me and my son have the rest of our lives together as a result of it. And so lean on him. We'll put some comments and stuff down where if you need to, contact his organization or him, I'm sure he'll be available to have those conversations with you. And so, Jason, again, thank you for being part of the show. Thank you for being on. Hopefully we can talk again, come back. I'd love to hear how your son is doing, a couple of years from now, and and how you're faring in your organization, what it's done. So whatever we can do for you, we sure appreciate. So I just want to say, don't forget that you, my friend, are God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to, and hopefully that you can lean on him. And so you guys have an awesome, wonderful, just incredible day today, and we will talk to you on the next one.